So if you've ever thought about starting your own business, you know this scene, right? It's late at night, you're alone, just staring at a spreadsheet you've probably called the plan. It's got like 47 rows, a fancy tab for your revenue model, and let's be honest, it's never been right about a single thing. This right here is where most of these stories actually begin. And here's the thing that nobody tells you about that spreadsheet. It's not really a business plan at all. It's a permission slip. Yeah, it's what you build to make yourself feel like you're making progress without having to take the actual terrifying leap. You're planning the journey, but you haven't even left the station. And hey, if you never get past just tweaking that spreadsheet, you are in very good company. Just look at this gap, it's huge. 6 out of 10 Americans say they'd rather be their own boss, but less than 1 in 10 ever actually launch a business. So what about the rest? Well, they stay right there with that perfect plan just sitting on their hard drive. So today, we're gonna rip up that permission slip. We're gonna really explore the full journey, from being an employee with a dream to actually achieving some kind of financial freedom. Because that path, it has these distinct stages. And I promise you, almost none of them look the way you've been told they do. We're gonna walk through the whole life cycle. We'll start with that first terrifying leap and the deafening silence that follows. Then we'll dive into the brutal trough of sorrow and hit the critical turning point, making your very first hire. After that, we'll decode what those big revenue numbers really mean for your bank account. And finally, we'll ask the biggest question of all. Was it even worth it? You ready to see what it's really like? Okay, so let's start at the very beginning. You've done it. You've quit the stable job, you've jumped, and you've just entered level 1. But what's waiting for you on the other side isn't a cheering crowd or a clear roadmap. Nope, it's just silence. I mean, think about it. Just yesterday, your phone was buzzing with Slack notifications, you had a 401k match, and probably meetings about the meetings you just had. Today, you're sitting at your kitchen table, it's 8:07 a.m., and there is nothing. And that silence, it doesn't feel like freedom. Not yet. It just feels like something is profoundly wrong. And this is where the money part hits you, and it hits fast. Let's just say you quit your job with 14 grand in the bank. Okay, if your rent is, say, $1,800 a month before you even think about food or electricity, you have about 4 months until you're in a real crisis. That's not a runway. That is a very short hallway with a very hard wall at the end of it. You know, this gets to a really critical point. Financial advisors always talk about having a 3 to 6 month emergency fund. But for the entrepreneurs who actually survive this first phase, the reality is they have closer to 12 or even 18 months of savings socked away. That gap right there is the buffer between chasing a dream and living a nightmare. So let's move on to the next phase, which is, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it, the absolute hardest part of this whole thing. It's what the venture capitalist Paul Graham famously called the Trough of Sorrow. All that initial excitement you had, it's gone. The novelty has completely worn off. And all that's left is the grind, day in and day out. And the numbers in this phase are just brutal. The median personal income for a solo entrepreneur is just $24,000 a year. Just let that sink in for a second. That's $2,000 a month. That's less than rent in most big cities. You're working harder than you ever have in your life to earn less than you ever have. And here's a huge reason why that income is so low. Look at this. A full 36% of your work week is spent on stuff that does not make you a single penny. Chasing down invoices, logging expenses, trying to fix your website. It means if you're pulling a 60-hour week, only about 38 of those hours are actually spent on making money. This is also where a massive trap shows up. You finally have a great month, right? Maybe you pull in 10 grand. You feel like you finally made it. So you upgrade the car. You get a fancy co-working space. But here's the problem. Your revenue is like a wave. It goes up and it goes down. Your new expenses, though, they're a fixed line. That's lifestyle inflation. And for an entrepreneur, it can be absolutely fatal. And the personal toll during this phase, it's immense. Entrepreneurs are hit by mental health challenges at just staggering rates. Depression is over 4 times more common than in the general population.
You're promised this amazing freedom of being your own boss, but for so many, what it really comes with is this profound, crushing loneliness. But for those who can somehow weather this storm, there is a turning point.
For those who manage to push through that trough of sorrow, an inflection point finally arrives. And it's the moment the whole journey stops being about me and starts becoming about we. This is the one decision that changes absolutely everything: making your first hire. And the difference this one move makes is just staggering. Okay, so remember that median income for a solo founder? $24,000. For an entrepreneur who becomes an employer, it jumps to $110,000. That's more than a 4 times increase. The team isn't a luxury. It's literally the engine for growth. It's how you finally stop trading your time for money.
But hiring someone isn't simple math. Offering a $40,000 salary doesn't just cost you $40,000. Oh no. Once you add in payroll taxes, insurance, equipment, software licenses, you're actually looking at something closer to $56,000. You've essentially traded the stress of, can I pay my own rent, for can I cover my employees' rent? It is a whole new level of responsibility.
So this growth leads us straight into the next stage, where the numbers on paper get a lot bigger, but they also get a lot more misleading. This is the part where you learn to decode what revenue really means. So your business finally hits $500,000 in revenue. That looks incredible on LinkedIn, right? But let's do the actual math. The average small business profit margin is around 10%. So that $500,000 business is now $50,000 in profit. Then, after you pay self-employment taxes and income taxes, your personal take-home pay could be as low as $42,000. So why on earth would anyone do this? Because the real financial reward isn't about today, it's a long game. But it is very real. By age 55, the average entrepreneur is earning significantly more than the average employee. We're talking $134,000 a year versus $79,000. And this isn't just about a bigger paycheck. This is about building an asset, something that grows in value, something you own. That's the difference between earning a living and actually building wealth. The timeline is just way longer than anyone likes to admit.
And all of this brings us to the final level of the journey, and to the question that everyone wants to know after hearing about the struggle and the stress and all the skewed math. Was it actually worth it? The answer, well, it's not simple. It's really a paradox. Get this, 81% of founders say they wouldn't change a thing. 70% say it's the best job they've ever had. But at the exact same time, 62% say the stress was far, far worse than they ever could have imagined. All 3 of those statements are true at once.
And here's one last fact that just completely shatters that Silicon Valley myth of the 22-year-old genius in a hoodie. The average age of a successful startup founder isn't 22, it's 45. And this gets at a really fundamental truth of this whole game. Experience consistently beats raw hustle. I mean, statistically, a 60-year-old founder is more than twice as likely to build a successful high-growth company as a 30-year-old is. It turns out that long, hard road often gives you the very map you need to navigate it. So in the end, there's no scoreboard that tells you if you won. There's just the quiet, tired, but genuine satisfaction of having built something real from nothing. You've seen the brutal math. You've seen the immense personal cost. So the only question that's left is the one you have to answer for yourself. Is that satisfaction worth the price?